Welcome to this overview video for a map called Grand Design's 1900 Start for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Now this video will consist of three parts. The first part will be an introduction talking about the map and why it was created and what the objectives or challenges within the map actually are. Then we will move on to the main bulk of the map where I'll give you an overview of all the primary features and talk about why they're there. And then the final section will be a spoiler section. I'll give you plenty of warning that we're about to enter it, where I'll talk about some of the strategies you can use from the point of view of a 1900 start. So that out of the way, let's just get straight into the introduction. Now, this map is the original map that I was going to play on when Workers and Resources Soviet Republic went into full release on the 20th of June 2024. Now, if you've looked at the companion map to this, which is based on Siberia, that map is now taken over as the one that the series that I'm going to run on. But I thought, considering I put so much work into this map, that I would also publish this one as well. And if I draw the mini map up, you will see that on the surface they look very similar, but there are some differences. The reason for that is that in order to create the Siberian map, I had to start again fresh because you've got to select the biome first before you can actually start to draw the map or import the PNGs. So what I had to do was start a new map and then kind of retrieve what I could from this map and put it into the Siberian map. And in that process, I kind of had a little bit of a rethink about the start. Now, and this is the reason why this would be a 1900 start. I haven't bothered to change the date because I feel that if necessary, you could start any date you want. You could start in 1960. But for anyone looking at this, be aware that a lot of the placements are orientated towards that 1900 start. Another reason why I didn't bother changing the date is that if you start in 1900, basically all you start with are horses and carts. So what I want to do now is just talk about what the actual challenge for this map is if you want to take it on. Now you'll see that there is a railway coming in here. It's a dual carriageway railway. It's only wood. And the challenge is to rebuild the line. So if you're thinking historically, just imagine that you've got the Trans-Siberian Railway running across here. It's been damaged due to bad weather and all sorts of other bits and pieces, and your job is to restore the Trans-Siberian Railway up through here. Let me just whiz through here. There's also a connection down to the bottom left hand corner to a NATO customs shed, and then if I come all the way up to the river crossing, I'll see you once I get there. And here we are, we're just coming up on the river crossing. Now this river crossing has been pre-built simply because it crosses this border here, which means that you won't be able to build this in the game if that wasn't provided. And then the connection you're looking for on the other side is actually up here, which is this post here. But there's an additional part of the challenge is to connect in the 5 major villages or towns that are actually on the map, or the fact there's 6 actually. Now, some are inside the Soviet area, which is the starting area, and then there's 2 outside the starting area. Now, the original synopsis for this series was that you'd start in 1900, and until the revolution in 1917, you would have to build up your economies inside of the Soviet areas, but with the possible caveat that if you've got the resources, you can preserve the western towns on the other side of the border up here, because of course if you're playing with full realistic mode, there's maintenance, and if you don't keep the buildings in good repair, I think you've got about 10 years before they start to fall apart. So the idea was they wouldn't be able to populate these towns before 1917. That was a kind of a rule that I was thinking of, but you could still maintain the buildings to give you a town to move back into, or alternatively you could just let them fall apart. Now if you want to start in 1960, then that is even more viable. What you could say is the initial task, and this is something that I wanted to do with the challenge, because especially with early starts, if you start in a single village building everything from scratch, you effectively spend 20-30 years, you're already into the 1930s 1940s before you've got a really strong economy. So the challenge of this map is to get all these towns up and functioning as their own communities at the same time whilst supporting these two Western countries. And then after 1917, you start to expand into this area here. When it comes to resources, the theme is very much the same as in my unification series, and this map's counterpart is the fact that inside of the Soviet areas is only coal and iron, and there's not large quantities of that. All the goodies are actually inside of the actual Western area here. Now, I can't tell you where the resources are, one, because I don't want to, and the other reason is that I can't exactly remember where they are. The only suggestion I could give you is that in the Soviet areas, because they're quite tight, you can generally find coal and iron relatively near these starter villages, but where exactly I can't tell you. The other feature you will see of this map is that it's pretty flat, because what I wanted it to represent the kind of rolling hills of what you would call Eastern Europe, rather than into the Siberia. So the map is pretty flat. It's got some rivers, and I think that's probably enough of an introduction. What I will say, guys, is if you like the map, feel free to play it any way you want. You can start in 1960, 1970, go back to 1900, as though be aware of the challenges, because these villages are intentionally placed close enough to each of a customs post. So each village has got a customs post, and that distance has been measured to make using horses and carts viable. You can also see that I've put in gravel roads just to make things a little bit easier. So that's the reason why these towns are in such proximity to the border controls. Of course, if you now start in 1960, that may cause a slightly different complication. So what I'm going to do now is just move to the next section in the video, where I'm just going to talk about the features, because I've already started to talk about that already, and I should move on. So each of these villages are laid out. I've put some fields in. They're mainly cosmetic. I suppose they could be useful if you're starting in 1900. If you're not sure what I mean by that, go and wait till we get to the spoiler section. I'll explain that. I've used all the buildings here. In fact, all the buildings on the map are vanilla, so there's no mod list. And a lot of these buildings are on here because I actually quite like the look of them. They've also got pretty good quality of life. They've got an 80% quality of life as well, which is pretty good. Then you've got these small suburbs that are there. And of course, we got the ubiquitous cathedral in the center. When I planned this map, this was meant to be the first starter town as it goes on through here. And then the idea is to expand and take out, bring this town online because it's got very close to this border. And that's the two down here. And then eventually start to maintain the one up there. And then up here, we've got a village in this corner. I mean, I put the port in purely to make the border crossing looks kind of realistic, in the sense that this is an island. So if I draw the map up I know it goes slightly across the edge of the map, but this really is just an island. And the way to think of it is that down in the south bottom right corner, you've got a Soviet enclave coming in, which will represents a Soviet republic down further to this bottom right. Then you've got this western area here, and what's happened is that explorers have got round and managed to get onto these two islands at the top. So you've got a main island with a village on. You also got another little island up over here if you want to be really adventurous, which has got a medium customs post on it as well. And then the idea is that when you start out, and this is the reason why, even if you start on realistic mode, if you want to go for the challenge that I'm presenting, you may want to start on medium money, because my original plan is to start in this village and also start in this village, because what you've got to do is, because the challenge is to preserve all these villages and prevent them falling down. So probably by about around 19, kind of between 1905 and 1910, what you really got to aim for is a working population in all the small villages which are in the Soviet area, and they are all built in a way that they can get fairly good access to a customs office here. The one down here is also got a port. Oh yeah, there's the customs office there. I was about to say, where did the customs office go? And this is just a small one. And then the idea is you expand out that way. So I've already mentioned these bridges. And the other thing also I kind of scooted over very closely is the fact that a lot of the railway line has already been laid, but it is wooden track and it is broken. So the task is more to repair this line as it travels down across the map. Now, if I go to the bottom right hand corner, you'll see the entry point for the kind of railway is here, and this is a full-sized custom shed. The reason this is here as a full-size custom shed is to accommodate the fact that certain large vehicles can be bought in large custom shed. And then what you've got is this rail line coming in here. Looks like I've got a random name that's in here, but you can remove that if you don't want it. And then the line comes up to here, and then we've got this border crossing here, and I put a warehouse in just for cosmetic reasons. And then what you've got is two medium custom sheds here. One is Soviet, the other one is NATO. And then this is the actual official crossing point of this area here. And then that goes into here, and then the line branches off across the map, and we've got this mud road that goes up into this western town here. Now, so on the surface it appears that this is the only crossing, and technically it is the only official crossing, but I'll just show you very, very quickly. We've got these watchtowers here, but if you look carefully you will see that there's a tunnel connection here which comes into here. And what this does is it represents a smuggler's route which goes up over the mountain here, down through here to a point here where it just stops. So the idea is that, so what you can do if you really wanted to is you can come across the mountains here and kind of get in via the back door. There's also a connection here. So down in this corner you've got a small Soviet customs shed and a NATO customs shed on the other side there. And then up here you've got the fence has been broken down, and you've got a kind of sneaky entrance into this area here. I'm trying to think of other features. Oh yeah, there's also up here, tucked in the corner where the smuggler path comes in, is a small NATO connection. There's no rail link out here. It's just a NATO connection which you can use for whatever work purpose you want, and the road comes out back up through here, and you see it just crosses over through this area here. Looks like oh yeah, this is the other part of the smuggler's route coming down through here. That kind of covers up the main thing. The other thing I've also done is, just for the fun of it, is I put a couple of tiny little villages in here, which just to kind of give an objective should you want to put this, if you want to aim for something. There's also, actually I've just remembered, and I'll be honest, it's a couple of weeks since I've actually worked on this map because I've been working exclusively on the other map. But there's also a tunnel entrance here, if you want, you can call it a smuggler's tunnel, coming through into this area here. It's kind of pretty well hidden by the trees actually. And I suppose all I've got left now is to talk a little bit about the rivers, because what I've done is I've provided river entries into here. Now I have play tested these. You can get ships into here, into this lake, so you can set a shipping export industry into this lake here. Now the river down here, which is going up this way, it will be deep enough to about this point here. Beyond there it gets very shaky. I think I did manage to get a very small boat up to about here, but the big problem you're going to have is actually the actual width of the river. So you can't send a ship out this way. The other river, which comes down from the delta, the delta is navigable, but the ships do have a little bit of a problem getting between the islands, so be aware of that. And then you can follow this river down. And one of the features of this map was meant to be recreate kind of a very swampy terrain, and I think you can get ships up to about as far as here. Then the river gets very shallow, and it's not worth trying to navigate the route out through here. Not sure where does that road go then? Oh no, this is just another way in over to this kind of place here. So I wanted to create this kind of rugged area which you can kind of explore at your own leisure. So I think that's enough of an overview of the map. As I say, it was originally designed for a 1900 start, but technically you can play on it with any start you want according to what you want to do. So hope you enjoy it. And what I'm going to do now, and this is an advance warning, what I'm going to do now is a little bit of a spoiler section, so that for anyone who wants to know a little bit more detail about the strategy for actually taking this map on. So right, if you decided to stay, welcome. This will be relatively short because the strategy is pretty obvious, but one thing I do want to talk about is, as I've already mentioned, this is the starter town, and if you're playing on the 1900 start, the real challenges relate to power, because there are no power connections to this map, and the supply of water. And what I would suggest is that if I come to this mod and find power plants here, is you actually use this Czech hydroelectric power late 19th century. The reason for that is that if I can build it, I should be able to build it. Oh well. Yeah, sometimes when you're building things, it can be a bit tetchy. Let me just find the editing tools. We're probably gonna have to level from the center. What you've got to do is probably push it out a smidge like that, and then that's it. And I know I can't build it because I've got realistic mode engaged. Oh no, I've got auto purchase. Okay, we're just gonna let it build. I forgot. I'm actually recording this at the same time as I did the overview for the Siberian map. I'm just going to build this. It takes quite a lot of resources to build, but if I show it to you on the map here, come on. And what you get here is a Czech hydro factory, and what this does is it actually does support one high tension cable. So what you could do is run off here, put a high tension terminal here. Now this produces, let me just see, I can't remember now, 108 megawatts. So it's not a vast amount, but what this should be able to do is produce enough power for both this village and the village up there. Although strictly speaking, if you could get the workforce down to here, because what you really want is for this power plant to be within walking range. I'm not sure if it is. No, we probably might need some footpaths to get down there. So this is the solution to your power problem, because before, with 1900 starts or early starts, you could use windmills, but that's now locked behind research. Now the other thing I want to do is explain these farms, because they're deliberately placed close to the village, and if I kind of let the game run fast, what you'll find is that when we get to the 4th of March, well anyway, so I'm not going to play on to the 4th of March, so I'm just going to pause again, sorry, or get rid of the rain. What you can do is actually use the villagers to actually sow and harvest the fields. So you can get an early crop going without a farm. But, and this is a very big but, that you need the farm in order to spread the fertilizer. And that comes down to something about early farms. If you're going to use modded farms, what I suggest is that you check very carefully when you are looking at farms to make sure you've got the ones that support liquid fertilizer and ordinary fertilizer. Otherwise, what you're going to be doing is a very low level form of subsistence farming. And one of the things I had planned for this series is to see how well subsistence farming would actually work in that context, but I've got a feeling it won't be particularly very efficient. So that's the farming. Now the other thing I would say is about water, because if you're running horses and carts, you're going to have to put in a fairly modern water system. So you're going to have to put in the sewage discharge, and you're going to have to build the pipes. Of course, if you come in here, oops, I'm just going to put it around kind of so it doesn't auto build. But if you see here, that which means you're going to have to import prefab panels in order to build the sewage outfalls. I can't think of any other way to do it, to be honest. I mean, you can, if you're really brave, you can try and kind of haul the sewage to the border, but bearing in mind that you are going to be in 1900. If we go to here and we look at vehicles, the other interesting thing also, if you start before 1960, you will get a selection of used vehicles, which can be quite amusing, but that seems to be a feature of the game. But if I go to covered holes, and then I think we can sort by start production. I mean, the top speed of these things is 10 kilometers an hour, and then you get the first steam covered hole in 1907. So if you start in 1900, the first 7 years, all you're going to be using is horses and carts, and that will make moving water and some key resources, and not even collecting waste, something you will need to do balance very, very carefully. Although you can pull in some Western vehicles as support. So that's part of the key challenge. And the way I looked at it when I was going to start on this is the first 5 years would be a prequel to the series where the economy's being built up. So possibly for the first 2 years, I wouldn't even have a population. So I could build up all the necessary infrastructure to support a fairly modern 19th century town. So that first 5 years would be a prequel period. But of course, we've still got to remember that 5 years is ticking away with respect to the maintenance. So when you move the population in, you could be almost immediately into a maintenance mode as well. As I say, resource-wise, I can't remember now, and I think I've already mentioned the coverage. So I think just to finish off, I'm gonna talk a little bit about these docks, which is worth knowing about. Now, these are small harbours. There are ships available in 1900, but their options are very limited. This is the reasons why I opted to give them supporting customs posts. There is one very nice ship. If I come in and just build this very quickly, we'll build actually we're going to have to build a medium dock, because the one I'm thinking of, you need a free excavator. Thank you, game. Just going to build this very quickly. Put on there. Yeah, we'll just spend the dollars. It doesn't really make any difference. And here we are. Now, if I go to here, and again, we'll just turn on all the workshop ones, because in 1900, your options will be very, very limited. But if I show you start production, then we, this dollars, no, it's rubles. Oh, aha. Oh yeah, of course. Let me just go in here. Yeah, I forgot this. Where is it? What am I looking for? Traffic simulation, vehicle availability, to get it to show all. And then if we come back into here, and if I go here, workshop, others, start production. Rather than resetting the map, I'll just explain it to you guys. There's some sailing schooners that are available in 1900, which are pretty fuel efficient. They're also got capable of a reasonable speed, and also that they can carry quite a lot. But the long and short of it is the fact that you will not be able to buy them from a small dock, and they won't come into a small dock. So if you want to use those ships, you're going to have to use change everything to medium docks. But That's the reason why these custom sheds are here. Otherwise, what you'd be doing if you were trying to import stuff from the border, like with an island challenge, you probably will be waiting 6 months for your first load to come into, and you won't be able to sustain your population with importing stuff with ships. So I think that is going to be about it for this overview video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.